Hey guys, have you ever bought a tool that you just thought you were going to use multiple times and then you only used it once? Well, today we're going to be talking about not neglecting your tools. I'm not talking about physical tools. I'm actually going to be talking about courses, about any type of experience that you've had, all those physical tools, those communication tools, those skills that you may have heard and you used once in a class or from some person, but then put on the back burner. Let me share a quick story with you. This was about 3 years ago. We were in West Jordan, and my kids really wanted to have a sandbox. We had this open yard, and I decided with my wife, you know what? We're going to make a sandbox for our kids. Gathered up a bunch of rocks for a border, dug a little hole that was about 6 inches deep. And when we went to the store, I needed some Quikrete, some concrete. I was like, oh, this will be perfect to mix that Quikrete. And I got it. There's honestly still a little bit of that Quikrete stuff on it from 3 years ago. I used that tool exactly once and haven't used it since. But my kids used they played in the sandbox over and over and over again. Now, what does this do for you as far as a simple story, an analogy for you, is sometimes we will have a tool that comes into our life. We use it once, we get the result, and we kind of forget about it. There's been lots of times I could have used this to mix paint. I could have used it to mix up a lot of different things. However, it just it has sat in the back of my garage for a very long time. And I saw it this morning. I was like, this is perfect. I am going to use this little mixer as an example because all of us need to have a little bit of an awareness that sometimes we have tools in our life, in our communication, that do not get used very often. And sometimes we have a tool that we use over and over and over again and becomes more and more meaningful for us. Here's one for me. Check this out. This is an embosser. Every time I read a book, to make it more meaningful for me, I will open up that book and I will stamp it. And it has my little name there, and it says from the Library of Brigham Blackham. I was like, this is so cool. Sometimes you have a tool that's physical like that makes it very meaningful for you. Sometimes you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to use something like this, which is a labeler. I type out things, print them out, and then I take that and stick it on whatever it is in my short-term rentals or in things like that makes it so that I can label things. And it's a very useful tool. I've used it dozens and dozens and dozens of times. Every once in a while, we will have a tool that comes into our midst, and it will fundamentally shift the way that we think. It will shift the way that we process ideas. And one of the main elements that I wanted to bring up today was this idea of stage fright. I wrote an entire book about it called 3 Reasons Stage Fright Costs and Why You Must Fix It. When I'm talking about stage fright, I'm not talking about just being on stage and the fear that comes up. It's actually fear in every conversation. Anytime that you open your mouth, are people going to be judging you? Are you going to be thinking so much about what you say that you're not able to communicate in an effective way? What this book does for you is it allows you to see that there are costs associated to your not using communication tools and frameworks that build a barrier for your audience so that you can connect with them. Because sometimes you have frameworks that you can push off of as a foundation and be able to rise above those challenges. And sometimes you have frameworks that are ineffective. They're tools that you do not use. And if you have a tool kind of like this guy that you're only going to use once, even though it could be useful, I'm going to encourage you not to neglect the tools that work, the ones that actually matter. In this book, you've got the introduction to the story hook method. What the story hook method is all about is helping you understand in a very simple way what is significant for your audience. You translate it for them because what's in it for them is what matters. They don't care about you. They don't care about your product or service. They don't care about what you have done in the past. They don't actually care about your story unless it will help them get what they want. It will help them build a deeper relationship. It will help them have a lifestyle that they've always dreamed of. Maybe it's something they have always wanted as far as a system that they can rely on. You say, you know what, I can do this. It makes sense for me. Maybe it's something that will bring some validation and admiration, or maybe it's just proof that what you're doing works. All of those different blessings or all these different benefits are the reason people listen to your stories, or the reason that people connect with you. The only reason you're here is because you believe there is something in what I'm going to say that will benefit you. And I guarantee if you stay to the end, you will not think about tools the same way. Because anytime you have a tool that you don't use, guys, it's useless. It's not that it couldn't be useful, it's that it's useless to you. If you have access to a tool just like this, the 3 reasons stage fright costs and why you must fix it, you will be able to have a simple framework to start working off of, to understand anytime that you want to build your confidence, it can fall down to these 5 steps. Significance. S is for significant. T is for translate. O is for an objective. R is for relive. And Y is for yes. Like, man, I want to know more about this. I want to understand this. That's why I talk about it in so many different ways and so many platforms for so many people. Because if you were able to clearly articulate what matters to your audience, be able to help them see how they can get from where they are to where they want to be, and you have a real significant conversation with them and let them see what's the benefit for them to listen, everything in your communication changes. This tool of story is one that I discovered over a year ago, and it's been something that has fueled every single conversation, every podcast I've done, every time I've stood on stage. And it is something that if you will be able to download it into your head and start using it, just like I use these embossing tools over and over, just like I use things like the animal profiles over and over, it becomes a part of you, so much so that when you're on the fly and you need to talk to some random guy, you go out there and you can have a framework to fall back on. If you have a framework, you're no longer guessing. A lot of that fear that you have will be overcome with your competence. Now, here's something that a lot of people talk to me about. They're like, well, I really know what I'm doing here. I am very confident in what I do when I don't have to talk to people. I can write it just fine. I can use ChatGPT to put my stories together, but it doesn't come out all right. It comes out like gobbledygook. It's super detailed and it's jargon and it's just not connecting deeply with people. What if you had a tool that could take you from unclear, undesirable language using jargon and things that really don't matter to your audience to the people you're connecting with, even if it's in a one-on-one conversation, and you can shift it, simplify it, put it in a framework or a tool that will make it so that you can see clearly, you can process information and make it meaningful for whoever's listening to you. And you can actually extract stories from people by asking pointed questions using something simple like this. What if you could actually do that? Would that build instant confidence? Will that make it so that you're a little bit less stressed anytime you have to open your mouth? I bet it would. Now, check this out. A little while ago, this was early in the summer, I had this tree. It was a little quaking aspen, and it had died. It was in my front yard, and it had gotten so bad with these beetles that gotten in the trunk that it was completely dry and brittle. You could snap off a branch in just a moment with very little effort. I had this tool that was a hatchet, and I saw it and I was like, oh, that's a perfect tool to get this. It's not a very thick tree. I can cut through this. I might even be able to push it down. I tried to push it, but it didn't quite have enough of it dead at the roots to make it easy to push over. So I was like, all right, I'm going to use this hatchet. And I went out there and I hacked at it for about 20 seconds. I was like, this is very dull. So I went and got a grinder and I grinded the edge there and I made it quite sharp. And I was hacking at it for about another 10 or 15 minutes after I'd sharpened it and tried to push the tree, and it still wasn't budging. I was just thinking, well, this is the tool for the job. Why is this not working very well? And instead of me keeping hitting at it with this axe it was okay. I could have gone through it maybe another 20 minutes because it wasn't perfectly sharp. I went and I set that tool down. And I remembered I had a Sawzall, which is a reciprocating saw that goes in and out. I went and got that, and I cut through the tree in about a minute. Sometimes you have a tool that's right for the job, but it's antiquated. It's not that you can't do the job, it's that it doesn't function in the way that you need it in the time frame that you need it. I didn't have time to waste, and I wanted to make sure that I could use the right tool for the right job. I wish I would have thought of that earlier because I had the tool, I had access to it, but it was unused. It was something that was in my garage in the back. I even had the batteries all charged. But because I was using the wrong tool, even though it was the right tool for the right job, it was just an old tool. It wasn't as effective. Now, why would you need a mentor? Why would you need a coach? Why would you need someone that is really quite articulate in helping you build your communication skills? Because that's the difference between having an axe that is pretty sharp, but not perfectly sharp, that you're just hacking away at what it is that your objective is, what you're trying to do, and it's pretty ineffective. You definitely can keep doing it. It will eventually work because everything works, nothing doesn't. You'll eventually be able to get your story out there. You'll be able to jumble all of those ideas together. And if you have enough time, not a big deal. Anybody from any culture, any area can share their story in an hour or more. I'm very confident of that. However, if you want to be clear, concise, compelling, and someone that is fully confident, the difference is having a structure, being able to significantly shift what matters for your audience, for the people you're talking with, be able to ask penetrating questions, be able to extract information so that you can be curious and find that when you have your ideas coming out of you, that they are fused with benefits so your audience will be able to see why it matters for them. What does this do for you? If you could clearly communicate, be able to pitch your ideas, sell these ideas in a way that makes every single person that listens to you have a better lifestyle, be able to communicate with their friends, their family, build deeper relationships, what would that do for you? I mean, in the comments, feel free to share. What would this do for you if you had tools like that that you could leverage so that you could be more compelling on any conversation that you ever have from here on out? What would that do for you? Just like I was hacking at that tree with the old dull axe, and I had the idea, you know what? I've got a better tool for this, one that's better suited. I got that Sawzall and ripped through that little tree. You can do the same thing when you have more efficient tools. It's not that those old tools don't work. You think about it, this tool works perfectly for mixing cement. However, if you are not going to use it, it is useless. If you're going to use a tool and use it over and over, you might as well get the best tool for the job and then utilize it in the very best way. Because you can have an expert tool, but not know how to use it expertly. And if you have an expert tool and you know how to use it expertly, you will get expert level results. That's what communication skills are all about. You want to build your brand, your experiences every time you connect with someone in a way that reflects how you can benefit every single person that talks to you. Now, if you found value in this, if you're like, you know what, I want to know more about tools that I'll actually use, those things like this, anything that actually makes sense for you to be a little bit more effective, more confident in every conversation, download this book. It's 3 Reasons Stage Fright Costs and Why You Must Fix It. And what this will do for you is help you start to understand what it means to have this framework of story in your life. It will clearly identify 3 main reasons that people let fear stop them from sharing their message. Because if you want to be a master of your message, own your story and be able to make it meaningful for every person that ever hears you talk, you are going to have to learn storytelling at some point. Because if you don't, people will completely forget what you are saying. They won't remember your message. And if people can't remember what you say, it might as well not have been said. So if you want to use tools that are meaningful, go download that book. It's so useful. You can go to thefinalpercent.com/Brigham Blackham. DM me 3 reasons, and I would be happy to send it to you. Have a great rest of your day, guys. God bless. We will see you next week for another episode of Levelin Up. God bless.